All right, hello and welcome to the MLS Hour Annual Conference Edition. For this edition of the MLS Hour, we'd like to bring you industry updates. We have a great panel for you today. And to lead us off with the industry update will be Ron France with RPR. Ron is the VP of Industry Relations. Ron?
Well, I'd like to start by thanking Rodney and Rene from NAR's MLS engagement team for the invitation to participate in this year's virtual NAR conference. RPR is proud to be a member benefit of the National Association of Realtors and a part of the Realtors Group of Technology Solutions. I'm going to begin by giving a shout out to RPR View. For those of you who may be new or have not heard of RPR View, it creates the ability within the RPR platform, which includes the RPR mobile app, for a partner MLS to display listings to other participating MLSs. Or you can display your active listings with all 1.4 million realtors across the United States. Currently, RPR View is used as a contiguous data share by over 380 MLSs with more than 1 million members participating. 260 MLSs have chosen to display their active for sale listings with all 1.4 million realtors. Basically, the highlights include listings from your market gain nationwide exposure in RPR. Brokers love the fact visibility feeds business building referral pipelines. RPR is not syndicated and is for realtors' eyes only. We're predicting 2021 is going to be a great year. Early next year, we will roll out RPR2. We thought it would be fun for you to get a sneak peek today. So here we go. We started by gathering feedback. We performed one-on-one and work group usability tests, watching how people use the site. We included people from different geographies, different size brokerages, different personas, and agent expertise. Here's a look at some of the recommendations and updates. The new homepage design is built for productivity. The layout came directly from our users' feedback. Simple to use, efficient design, easily consumable analytics. Searching residential and commercial are now from one area. We also created a shortcut menu to make it easy to use RPR's top features. Defining market areas from the homepage creates the ability for members to monitor market activity for their specific areas. You will also have quick access to current or past listings, as well as saved properties, searches, and reports. We've improved the visibility of our search filters also, and have added the ability to choose popular keywords that realtors would like. You can view search results in multiple views, like list view, or large thumbnail photo views, or a traditional map view, which will show you the various results of your search all in one place. And of course, a complete property details view with an easily consumable summary of data points. We've also added contextual learning with improved resources and links. You can see short videos on the tools you're currently working on. You can search our knowledge base for quick answers or enter a live chat with our call center. A final item I wanted to mention is RPR provides an online trainer certification program with a suite of classes on a variety of topics, including a complete Train the Trainer webinar. MLSs, associations, and brokerages with training staffs can work with the RPR training team to get certified and up and running with RPR classes locally. Lastly, any questions about the RPR trainer certification program, RPR2 launching Q1 of next year, or to learn more about the RPR View data sharing platform, simply send an email to our industry relations team, irteam@narrpr.com. And with that, Rodney, Rene, I'll say thank you, and I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Ron. Great information and great things happening at RPR. Thank you for sharing that. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Bob Evans. He's the VP of Industry Relations at Realtor.com, a position he's held for the past 4 weeks or so. Might feel longer than that with everything we have going on nowadays, but let me turn it over to Bob. Bob, go ahead and tell us all about what's happening at Realtor.com.
Happy to do so. Just trying to click up here on my screen share. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Rodney and Rene. Got a lot to cover. I'm a fast talker, so let's jump into it. Just reviewing our purpose, like brokers and agents, Realtor.com views its purpose as to, the process of making buying and selling and living in homes easier and more rewarding for everyone. As part of that purpose and as part of achieving that goal, we drive audience. Let's talk about our audience. In July, we were pleased to have broken our all-time traffic record with 91 million unique visitors. That was the 4th straight record month. In August, we had 92 million visitors, which has been our all-time high now. We also had single day highs in April, 6 million unique users a day, and then in June broke the 6 million barrier with 7 million unique visitors in a single day. So traffic at Realtor.com is better than it's ever been. To put this in context, when we were acquired by News Corp, our traffic was in the 30 million unique users a month. So we have been growing for years and continue to grow. Let's talk about the consumer experience and some changes that have occurred on our site in the past few months. On the left side, we bring your attention to our buyer cash rewards. We work with brokers that choose this option to provide a cash reward to consumers who reach out to the broker. The broker puts a little bit of money into the cash reward. Realtor.com puts a larger portion of the money. And that cash reward creates connection between the consumer and that broker. And our metrics show that where cash rewards are implemented, the consumer stays with the broker and the agent longer and gets to closing at a higher rate. So that's proven to be very successful. It's been offered and tested in limited markets. It's not everywhere, but it definitely is a tool that helps connect brokers with consumers and get them to a closing table. We're going to talk about flood. We released a new flood. You probably heard about it. We also released some AVMs and a new marketplace called Sellers Marketplace. Going to talk about them in a little bit more detail on some following slides. Lastly, I want to point out in COVID, I think all of you know that we offered our virtual open house solution, live stream open houses, very quickly got virtual open houses up on our site and were able to redirect consumers to virtual opens as opposed to in-person opens when the states were closing everything down. Let's jump in to flood. So as hopefully you know, we now display FEMA flood data on our listings, on our listing detail pages, as well as new flood data from a company called floodfactor.com. You can check them out. Our flood data talks about current flood situation, which is FEMA type data, and also flood factor data, but it also now looks out into the future 30 years and gives a prospective consumer or an existing home seller an understanding of flood today and what it may look like into the future. And it provides a whole lot of information around flood, both FEMA and flood factor data, and also a risk score from 1 to 10. So I encourage you to go check out a property on Realtor.com and check out our flood data. Consumers are loving the flood data. There's some simple quotes up here on the screen, but it's very popular. And a lot of consumers drill right through our data and go right over to Flood Factor and look at properties at Flood Factor to get even more information about how flood is impacting a particular property. So very excited about this. Let's talk about how the feedback was received, how the release was received, and what the feedback was across the industry. About 66% of brokers were neutral. They understood it, but had a neutral response. About 15% were positive, and then about 19% had concerns in different areas. You can see here on the screen could have been agent liability, listing impact, the possibility of losing leads. But all in all, the industries responded positively, in my view, and the consumers have definitely enjoyed it. And I think you're going to see more of this flood data showing up on other sites across the industry as consumers continue to try and understand more and more about the specifics of an individual property. Let's move over to our AVMs. Unlike others, we did launch AVMs on our site. We do not use listing data to create the AVMs. We buy them from third-party people, entities. And we put up 3 AVMs. As you know, all AVMs are wrong. The idea is to get a trend. The idea is to get an estimate. And so we now display down on our listing detail page towards the bottom, 3 different AVMs from the 3 top players in the industry. And at the bottom of the AVM section, we have a call to action that explains to consumers that this is data as a starting point, but they should be discussing their home value with a real estate agent. And then there's a call to action button, email agent, encouraging them to reach out to an agent to learn more about the value of their home. The results across our consumer audience is that customer satisfaction is high. And then the AVM customer satisfaction is even higher than the customer satisfaction for Realtor.com. Consumers love the value information. It gives them a starting place, and then they can reach out to their realtor and have greater detailed conversations about what their specific home is worth in their market at that point in time. So AVM's also been a very positive impact on consumers and on for agents and brokers to begin those conversations. Sellers Marketplace. We launched this two months ago, perhaps. And this gives sellers an opportunity to come to Realtor.com. We have been historically been a buyer destination. We wanted to expand more into that seller side of the experience. And the marketplace communicates to sellers what they pretty much already know, which is that there are an increasing number of options for them to consider in addition to working with a realtor. In many markets, not all, but in 20 or so markets, there are iBuyers across the country. And in other markets, there are other unique opportunities as well. The seller's marketplace is an opportunity for a consumer to learn about multiple options that they may or may not qualify for, but do so in a realtor-friendly environment that's continually urging them to get advice from a professional. You can see at the top, the first option is to list with an agent. All the way at the bottom, we're advising them to get advice from a professional. We have our current partners, our open door in the iBuyer space for those consumers who think they might want to just sell their house in a couple days and walk away from it. We work with We Buy Houses and HomeGo for people who want to get out of their house, but they don't want to do any repairs, and an iBuyer isn't going to buy it because it's in need of too many repairs. This is a simple way to just walk away from your home. Obviously, with Open Door and with We Buy, you're going to take a hit on your list price, but as a seller, you understand that. Easy Knock is a real creative solution where you can sell your home to Easy Knock and rent it to get your equity out of the house. You may have medical bills or other bills you need to pay, so you can get your equity out, still live in the house and rent it back, and then eventually Easy Knock will sell it after the rental period. Interesting thing there for realtors is if a realtor is working with a seller, when that home transitions to Easy Knock, the realtor gets a commission, and then that realtor also is guaranteed to be the listing agent of record when the homeowner eventually moves out of the rental and the home goes on the market. It goes back to that same agent to be the listing agent. Again, reinforcing the value of the realtor and working with the realtor in the process to try and keep everybody whole. Let's talk more about Sellers Marketplace. We do have quite a bit of information about the value of working with an agent. working with a realtor, the expertise they bring, their ability to negotiate, they're connected to everyone. So I encourage you to go check it out. You can try it for your own home. You will find that you may not get any option other than to work with a realtor in many locations, because these players don't all operate in every zip code. So feel free to try it out for yourself if you're interested. Here's what our consumer feedback tells us and what we kind of expected going in. 52% of sellers that come into the seller's marketplace end up connecting with an agent. To the right of that, less than 1%, 0.4% actually close with a partner in the seller's network. We don't sell the leads to the partners. We just collaborate and share them so that when those deals don't happen, they come back into our funnel and they go right back to realtors across the country in the various zip codes. So 52% of the people that enter get redirected to agents. Less than 1% actually close a deal. 51% of the people who submitted were eligible for one of the opportunities that existed in the marketplace. 49%, the only option for them was working with a realtor, because all the players don't operate in all the spaces and they don't necessarily meet the criteria. And we find that sellers that come into this channel are 12 times more likely to close with an agent they meet on Realtor.com than consumers that come through other channels on our website. So this is a huge win for brokers and agents and realtors who want to work with sellers. We see that here. Our broker feedback was about 52% were not concerned with the seller's marketplace. About 37% understood the seller's marketplace was going to produce great leads for them on the sell side. They understood the lead opportunity, and they have many of them have connected with us to consume those leads and reach out to those consumers and help them get their home on the market. And then there's a smaller segment of brokers who were researching more and were concerned about cannibalization. But overall, the response was pretty strong, and the results of the seller's marketplace have been pretty impressive, that less than 1% go a path that is not working with a realtor. All right. Another experience that we brought live in the last couple of weeks is in the mortgage space. We've partnered for a test with Rocket Mortgage and with Veteran United, and we're doing some tests in our marketplace. We're doing some tests on our site to try and connect consumers with agents, but get those consumers with agents and get those consumers pre-qualified. The best leads, of course, are the ones that have been qualified, and we're trying to deliver the best leads. So we're doing some tests across the country with Rocket and Veterans United, and we'll know in a couple months, but so far the results have been very positive, and we're optimistic that the results will continue to be strong. And then we also did a deal with Divvy. Divvy is for consumers, sellers, working with a realtor that decide that maybe they don't have the financing to get into the home of their dreams. And so they want Divvy to acquire the home for them, and they will rent that home. And while they rent it, a portion of their rental payment will go towards down payment. And over time, as they rent a home, they will essentially finance their way into a home. Very interesting. There's a lot of new creative models out there. And, you know, many of these new models have a very small audience, but there's a market out there for perhaps many of these. And we're just trying to work with realtors who are working with people like Divvy and see if we can find ways to get consumers and sellers and buyers into the homes of their dreams. All right, let's talk about the industry side. We have a lot of exciting stuff here as well, but I'll continue to move quickly. We did a survey of the industry, MLS and execs, and association execs recently, and got very strong response, 77% satisfaction and NPS of 50. They responded that they loved our response to COVID, our COVID resource center. They loved our response to going virtual with open houses, the way we highlighted virtual tours on the listing detail pages and made it much more prominent and really brought home the idea that you could get into these homes without having to visit them. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, our live stream open house. They love the fact that we worked with them so quickly to consume all of their virtual open houses and to get those in front of our consumers as well. So had some good success. Moving on. Every MLS gets a monthly traffic report. It comes to you as a PDF. It's now available via API. If you're interested, just simply reach out to your IR rep. We're also taking that report and making it more micro-sensitive for the larger MLSs. Let's take a simple large MLS, for example. We'll use bright covers, Philadelphia, Washington, and Baltimore. The MLS trends don't necessarily align with each of those three major cities. So we're trying to take large MLS footprints and break them down so the traffic reports are more granular to those large cities that are within these mega MLSs. So that's a work in progress and coming soon. We've also done some work in SSO recently with MyBor. Launched SSO inside their MLS so that their members can now SSO directly into the Realtor.com dashboard. We're talking to Contra Costa and Stellar MLS about getting SSO enabled for them. If you're interested in SSO, reach out to your industry relations rep. We'll be happy to work with you. We also have a nationwide project going on where we're moving the broker List Hub dashboard into the Realtor.com List Hub dashboard. So there's just one dashboard to go to. And then of course the SSO from your MLS will now, once this is enabled, allow brokers to access not only their Realtor.com dashboard, but their List Hub dashboard from that same SSO integration. So that will be playing out over the next 6 months. It's already started in certain markets. We're very excited about that. Lastly, you should see in your upcoming MLS traffic report a new report contained in there that talks about cross-market consumer demand. So if you're wondering where consumers are when they look at homes in your city, counties, and states, our report will tell you where they're searching from. And likewise, same with sellers, people in your market, if they're searching, where are they searching on our site in areas that might be in your state, outside of your county. So that cross market demand report, I think is going to be very exciting for a lot of MLSs that are interested in where the traffic is coming from and where the traffic is going to. And lastly, very excited to announce this. This just launched a few days ago, and many of you have spoken to us about this. The notion of a broker operating in more than one MLS, submitting a listing to us from more than one MLS, and then being able to determine which version of the listing is the primary listing that shows on Realtor.com. As many of you know right now, our process is the last listing submitted to Realtor.com is the one that shows as the primary listing on our listing detail page and in our mobile apps. But now with this new feature, the broker can go into their dashboard and select their primary MLS. And even though they may send us the same listing from 2, 3, 4, or 5 different MLSs, their choice MLS will be the listing that will show by default. So we rolled this out 2 days ago, just starting to get it out into the marketplace. If you're interested in this, of course, reach out to your industry relations rep, or simply let your brokers know that it's available for them inside their broker dashboard under organization settings, and they can go in there and make these choices today. Very excited to release release this feature this week. And that's it. I hope I finished up on time. Thank you all so much for your attention.
I think I'm up next. Rene?
Yes, up next we have Danae Evans, CEO of the Council of Multiple Listing Services. Danae?
Awesome. And I even got my screen to work. Hello, everyone. I am Danae Evans, the CEO of CMLS. And I'd like to thank NAR for opportunity to provide an update on CMLS. And my goal today is to share a little bit of what we're working on at CMLS, some of the things we've accomplished this year with the help and support of the industry, our members, and a little bit of what our plans are going forward. So if I can get to my next slide. Who is CMLS? Just a quick review. We are the Council of Multiple Listing Services and the National Trade Association, specifically focused on all things MLS. We have about 207 MLS members now, serving over 1.3 million subscribers. And because we don't just do things in a vacuum as MLSs, we do have over 70 business partners that do participate in the conversations and contribute to that. And, you see down there our statement about focusing on advancing MLSs and championing those who seek to do better. And it's really about sharing what MLSs, what we already know from the best, what others want to learn, and then bringing them together to share all of that and continue that learning and innovation. So what does all that really mean for you today? Well, I'm hoping to share a couple of those things. First, I wanted just to highlight that we just recently finished our very first all virtual conference. Normally we do have our big in-person event, but as with everything, we did have a virtual event that had over 1,000 attendees dialing in. We normally would have about 800 in person was our most recent one. So we're excited about that. We had legal days, 3 different sessions that were everything from focusing on volunteer leadership and MLS, attorneys and CEOs specifically. We had titles on Workforce 2030, AI without bias within the MLS, the wants and needs of the consumers and how that's tying back to MLS. And I do mention that because we did just post all the videos from that. So anyone who did attend, those are available on the platform that you can see those. And I've had some MLSs talk about sharing some of those videos as some of their upcoming strategic planning sessions. So I would encourage that. And anyone who wasn't there, we will be making those available sometime in the middle of November if you wanted to have access to those. So let us know if you're interested in them. Next is some of the resources that we developed over this past year to support MLSs and their drive to support their customers. First, I'll start with the Clear Cooperation Implementation Guide, that was passed last November, and CMLS did convene a work group of all different size MLSs, all across the country to come together and share why, what are the options for this? How can this be implemented, and what resources do you need? So obviously this is already in place, but I would say you could go back and reference it. Any questions or anything that you might need support for implementing still today, or some clarifications, always a great resource to go there. You can see the website down there at the bottom of the slide. The other piece was supporting brokers during COVID. We had an MLS Matters event, which is similar to the MLS Hour, where we had some brokers on about what is it that MLSs need to consider right now to best support their brokers during this time. And so from that event, we crafted a document that has a lot of questions that's meant to be, how can MLSs continue to support their brokers? And so great conversation starters about how to continue to meet that need. We did also issue the Participant Data Access Policy, or PDAP. That was a new policy that was just passed recently as well. And that is that brokers are entitled to receive their own data back. Again, another work group from people all across the country getting together and say, this is how it can be implemented. Definitely go and access that. That one is I believe set to implement in January. Rene, pipe in and tell me if I got that one wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the date.
Yes, January.
Okay, good. Yay. And then the other one, Critical Communications Guide, was excellent. It's always, I feel like everyone, I hear constantly how challenging it is, just communication, and especially when we're going through the current time. So we worked on that, putting together what's the best practices and the strategies that people are using of how to communicate. So again, another resource to just support you in helping to navigate these times. And the new things that are coming out. So there are resources that are there for you. I'd ask you to go look at the website and access these. And I love hearing the stories when you do use them. So if there's things that happen, please share those. We'd love to just understand how we are supporting the industry and what works for you. And maybe there's something missing, so share that as well. And then the other piece that's on here is the Data Access Marketing Guide. And I wanted to point that one out specifically because we issued that last year, and it does support one of the current MLS standards proposed recommendations that's coming out about making information about how to contact an MLS available. So that is already out there and part of the documents that are on our website. So just again, trying to really support the industry on how to on all these different items. And my last piece, as you'll see on here, MLS Matters, is bringing the industry together to talk and share and learn. And we are having these, so I would ask you to be part of that conversation, be part of the community. We did just have one recently, and we do started out by talking, and then we go to the breakout rooms by using Zoom. And it was just amazing, the most recent one that we had, how engaged and people learning and sharing. So I'd really encourage you to be part of that conversation. You can email us at info@counselofmls.org at any time to find out how to get involved in those and be part of that conversation. We would love to have you. Next is, if you haven't already heard the saying, making the market work, MLSs are making the market work, and the value of the MLS. CMLS did come out with this in 2017 as trying to start to articulate what is the value of MLS and how does it support the marketplace and a transparent and efficient marketplace for powering the professionals, powering the realtor to help the dream of home ownership happen. And so we've been doing a lot of work at this, and it was really focused on the realtor, and speaking to the industry was what this was about. But what we found out is we kind of need to go to the next level and start talking to the consumer to help them understand what is the value to them. Why is it so important to be part of this community of organized real estate and putting your listing on the multiple listing service? What is the value to them? So we engaged on this adventure last year, which was a huge challenge and very overwhelming to do. But I'm so excited to announce and share the campaign that we have just launched called In the Know. And we did this by starting to survey some consumers. We did enlist 1,000 Watt to help us do this, both the making the market work and this, but we started out by interviewing some consumers to say, do you know what the MLS is? And I'll give you a statistic. We got back 24% of them thought that MLS stood for Major League Soccer. And I had a good laugh about that just yesterday when I got an email solicitation from an HR firm trying to get me to use their services, but in it, it said, we have helped several Major League Soccer organizations with their HR services. I was like, oh dear, we have some work to do. They maybe have some work to do too, but the idea being that, we need to advance this and really help people understand what is the value of the multiple listing service to them when it comes to home ownership. And then really wanted to make sure that we put the realtor as the hero in that story, and that their participation in this community really does provides a lot of value to that consumer in providing this open, transparent, and accurate marketplace for either finding that perfect house or getting their home sold. And it is through the realtor. So I would encourage you to go to this website. This particular website is for you as the organizations to use, to brand it and make it your own. So we have some of our MLSs who have already started using it and promoting it to their members. As if you are a member of this particular MLS, then both you and your customers are in the know of what's happening in real estate. So we are working on that, and we would ask for your partnership and go use the resources we have there, and let's continue to promote the value of the multiple listing service. And you will notice in there that there's very little industry speak. A lot of the pushback we had is that, well, it doesn't say this or doesn't say this, but it's very targeted, that it's consumer. And I say, how will my mom understand what it is? And I guarantee you, when getting in there, we've got videos in there, we've got some social media posts, making it clear and simple. And when we explained it in those terms, the consumers that we were interviewing, they said, yeah, I get it. So I'm very excited about it, and ask for your support and participation in that. Here's a couple of the samples on this of In the Know, the two different ones, multiplelistingservice.org, which are really focusing on trying to say multiple listing service and not MLS, so we can kind of separate from Major League Soccer. And then there is the specifically for agents, realtors, and brokers to use to promote as part of their listing presentations. And we definitely made some assets for videos and whatnot. So please look at that and ask for your engagement in that. And lastly, I'll finish up with what we're looking to do going forward. I did mention that we were participating in policy and the implementation guide for clear cooperation. We did just do the participant data access policy. And not only are we putting forward the policy, but really working hard to help support the implementation of that and answer the questions and everything that would need to be in promoting and fostering innovation, creating more efficiencies within the marketplace, but we can't get away from ensuring that the gold star standard of data that is MLS continues. So there's a lot of making sure that we have a lot to balance there as the MLS community, but I think we can absolutely do that. And so you'll see more of this from CMLS. There's been a little talk. RESO just recently finished up their conference, and I think Sam is up next. A lot of talk there about a new data delivery mechanism, trying to make it easier for brokers to continue to get their data, how they want to use it. And CMLS is going to absolutely be continuing that conversation. We want to bring the industry together. And the idea is that we cannot just do this in silos, that the more we can do this as a community, a collaborative effort to understand the different participants and how it ultimately impacts the consumer and makes it better for them, but that we're doing this as the professionals to look at it for the different places. And like I said, foster that innovation and create those inefficiencies while still maintaining that gold star standard that is MLS data. Then that's where we I think are really accomplishing some great things. So thank you so much for the opportunity to give the update today. And I would encourage you and ask that you do participate in the conversations. You can email us at counselofmls.org, and we would love to have you participate. And I think that's all of my stuff today. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for sharing that awesome information, Danae. And so for our last speaker, we have the privilege of having Sam DeBoard, who is the CEO of RESO. As many of you know, Sam serves in a wide range of industry leadership positions, which includes serving as the president's liaison for MLS and data management to NAR. He also sits on the board for NAR, SCV, and CMLS. Thanks for being here, Sam.
Thank you, Charlie. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having me on, and great to hear Danae's report before as well. It's great to have the collaboration between CMLS and RESO and NAR on all these issues, because we're all focused on efficiency. That's really what we're trying to get to. So do get engaged with Danae and CMLS on data access policies as we're going forward with that. It's something that's really at the heart of what RESO does. And CMLS has got the folks who are boots on the ground who can really figure out how to get these things implemented well and come back to NAR as well. So without further ado, I can give you a bit of a report on what we've been working on at RESO recently. We did just finish up our most recent conference this week. We're all doing remote conferences right now. As you all know, or those of you who are newer to the industry might not, RESO is the organization that creates the standards that do provide that efficiency in the industry. So at the end of the day, we want our technology systems to be able to talk to each other, whether it's MLS, whether it's broker, whether it's agent or consumer facing technology. So our membership comes together to make sure that happens. Our conferences, we try to have a lot of fun at our events. The most recent one was the Standards Collection, RESO Remote Encore. And some of the big updates we had at our conference were a new educational course that we've put together based on the requests from the industry, new certification tools as we built out our entire certification stack over the past year, and then new members and new contributors from different verticals as our membership continues to expand. So to give you a feel for what we're working on right now, we've finished the first module of the Working with Real Estate Data course. The intent of this course is really to be able to onboard new people in the industry and have them understand the interplay between MLS policy, technology, rules, licensing, the agents, the associations, and their vendors. There's a lot of different parts that you have to understand to really be able to work well with your data partners in the real estate industry. So we've put this course together, and we've got some folks who have signed up to be basically test pilots for the first round as we walk through. And we really want this to be high-level conceptual that any business person could understand. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be a developer. The business concepts would work for an MLS executive or staff member, a broker staff, a vendor staff, anyone who really wants a warp speed education on how all these organizations work together. And so as we step through the process, we have lots of quizzes and videos and downloads and that sort of thing. You can not only help your staff learn how all of these organizations work together more quickly, it can also provide sort of an objective way to show your data partners that you've done the homework, that your folks understand what the rules look like, that they're not just going to come in and get MLS data, break the rules, misuse the data. They've got that background and that foundation for being able to be a good partner for data in the real estate industry with organized real estate. So we'll be looking for some more people to pilot the course. Our second portion of the course will be the technical concepts. So we'll want to get our engineers, our developers, our subject matter experts on the technical side together and bring them in and talk about how do you, on a day-to-day basis, actually work with that data, and how do you make sure that you're following the rules from NAR down to local rules at the MLS, as well as any licensing guidelines that come along with that. So we'd enjoy any feedback you can give us on that. If you are someone who would like to move forward as a person testing that. The other big thing that we've had this year is really an overhaul of certification. Most of you, if you're in the MLS space, you know, we moved last year to all data dictionary certifications on the web API. And again, for those who are new, data dictionary is just the names for the terms we use in the data and the way we structure them. And the web API is just the modern way we transport or share the data. So we don't do certifications on RETs anymore. And that's a big change for the MLS space to make sure they've all got a fully compliant data dictionary system and that they could do that on the web API. And we needed to move everybody up this year from the past process, which had silver, bronze, gold, platinum, different levels, to really everybody being on the same language. We needed everyone to move to one standard, so all these systems are really speaking the same language. So we've rebuilt the tools and the entire certification process. And you might see this screen and say, oh boy, this is somebody doing something in the weeds technologically. But I think it's important for you to see how holistically testing happens at this point, because this has been kind of a black box, I think, for MLSs in the past. You know, we run about 16,000 tests in 10 seconds in these systems. And these are not just systems for us to use at RESO. These are systems for you to use. We've got additional reporting features. You can really dig in and see, what does my system look like compared to another system? Do I have a certain number of fields in commercial, rental, multifamily space, business opportunities? And we'll be able to post these on reso.org. So you won't just see ABC companies certified anymore. You can see what their data availability reports look like. You can see these field level reports and really be able to start planning your development of your technology based on these tools. We want your vendors, your technology staff to use these tools themselves. If you're going to add a field, you can check right away, see if it's still going to pass RESO certification. If you want to make a change to your server's capabilities, you can run that as well. So really the goal is more transparency, more putting the tools in your hands, putting the reporting in your hands, and then letting the community see what kind of data is available to them when they work with you as a data partner in the industry. The other exciting thing is our expansion really of RESO. As we started out, we really needed to solve some issues in the residential MLS space. And we've done much of that. There will always be work to do. There will always be iterations we need to do in that space. But we've had a lot of new contributors come into the space, some of them new members to RESO, as we expand into commercial and multifamily and the rental space, which has not been usually a top priority by the MLS space in our industry, at least in organized real estate. So we've had companies that have been members for a long time, your Catalyst, RPR Commercial, that have helped us start to build out those commercial data fields and enumerations, really something that would be usable by your commercial practitioner, which is very different than what a residential for sale practitioner would need. The same as the rental space. What a rental agent needs is very different from a sales agent. We've had organizations like Colliers who have contributed some of their data sets to us, Crexi, the commercial marketplace, SEBA, and then going into the international space. We started working with Lordea on what they can do with AMPI, a trade organization in Mexico that wants to be able to have its data sets integrate with residential MLSs in the Southwest or the Southeast. You've got folks who may cross these marketplaces and they want to have interoperable data. They want to be able to send listings across through those different systems there. So working on a standard with them working with MPAC in Ontario, Canada. This is the largest property assessment data organization in North America. And they want to be able to conform their data to the RESO data dictionary standard. So all of their data partners in Canada can adopt those standards as well. And again, make sure that we've got these standards expanding, creating that interoperability and that same language, not just in US MLSs anymore, but really expanding across the entire data space internationally. So our final item is something that you'll be considering this year, and it's a recommendation that came from the MLS Standards Work Group to the Technology and Emerging Issues Advisory Board to the MLS Policy Committee this week, probably, I think, for NAR, and potentially to the Board of Directors. And it's fairly straightforward. The hope for this policy is that brokers get all the data they need in their modern technology, that we take what they've been getting in FTP and RETS for many years, which are old ways of sharing data. These are just older systems of technology, and they can get all that data they need in new technology, which is the Web API. And there's a concept that we really need to be clear about for you, because what we do at RESO in terms of standard fields does not stop you from adding custom local fields. It's actually good that you have custom local fields side by side with the RESO standard fields. We don't need every little idiosyncrasy that happens in one marketplace to be standardized nationally if it doesn't happen in other places. But when we can get the RESO standardized fields and your local custom fields all via Web API, your data partners now can use modern technology to access that data. And in some cases, they can't do that today. They only have part of the data in Web API. And if they need that really important local custom field that you have, they're still using FTP or RETS because they just don't have a choice. The brokers need that data. So the concept you'll be considering is supported by RESO leadership. And we just want to ensure that full data is available in this transition that the industry is making to the modern Web API. We've got clear, consistent rules so people can compare. Do I still have the data in the new Web API that I needed to get from RETS previously? And then there's no degradation of the services clients currently have to make a match. Really, the intent is to boost everything and to get the Web API at that full data access level. So we'll be looking forward to those conversations with the MLS Policy Committee. Looking forward to getting you more involved in RESO as we move forward and in our educational course, as well as working with our tools. And I thank you all for your time.
Sam, thank you for that wonderful update. And lots of great information in this industry updates webinar. So a great big thank you to RPR, Realtor.com, CMLS, and RESO for the information. And thank you, as always, to my MLS Hour brothers, Rodney and Charlie Lee. You can access previous recordings of the MLS Hour by visiting nar.realtor and searching the MLS Hour. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next MLS Hour.